Welcome again to the Mike on Mike program. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe to the channel. And if you're watching on Facebook, go to the Mike on Mike podcast page, like and follow that page. That really helps out quite a bit. And joining me today is Chris Barnett, Commissioner Chris Barnett. And geez, seems like we're probably going to talk about some of the stuff we've already talked about. If people want to get, the total history, they can go back to the interview that we did last fall.
Yeah, we did one last fall.
And that's pretty extensive.
Yeah.
It's well over an hour, I believe. And we covered a lot of stuff. What's going on right now?
Well, I'll tell you what, our office is really busy. I'm really happy with the amount of passion that the current Board of Commissioners have. I know the last board had a lot of big passions and they did things a little bit differently, The intent was to have John West in there, Commissioner West in there. And he was the senior member in the Board of County Commissioners. That didn't happen. He did get recalled, as we know, and then we got pushed in that position to appoint somebody, and the best person for the job at the time. And I think it's a great choice because Commissioner Bleck is doing a great job. He knew a lot of the events that happened on the prior administration that carried forward, and I think that that's been going great. And Commissioner Smith and I, we have learned a lot. They tell everybody that you're going to learn a lot in your first 6 months, and that's with any job.
Yes.
And it's not that we're inexperienced in a lot of things, because we're experienced in a lot. Management, we own businesses, we come from different backgrounds.
Any job that you've never done before, there's going to be a learning curve. That's just
like this job.
Yes.
Just like this job. Yeah.
And I screw up at this job all the time.
We all do, yeah.
Thankfully, I'm not getting paid anything for it.
Well, there you go. You can do whatever you want, Mike. But thank you for having me.
I live on appreciation, really, I do.
And you are appreciated, Mike, and thank you for doing some of those interviews and with us and out in the community, because I feel sometimes we don't have enough outlets that really want to hear our side of the story. So thank you, Mike.
Well, and there is a lot going on in Grants Pass that is top of mind for the locals here that you just don't see. And I can be at an event where something is happening and the news can be there, and I can interview somebody for 20 minutes. They'll be there for the same 20 minutes, and you see 18 seconds on the news.
That is it. I've learned that so much. I'll be like, hey, you didn't put all the meat and potatoes that I gave you the story. Yeah. They just snip, and that's not even what I wanted to address.
Right.
So.
And you could be mad at them for being biased or something if that even entered into it. It's just the depth at which they cover a story is pretty much like a headline.
Correct.
You see a headline, and most people, they get an impression about what is in the story from the headline, and many people don't go any further than that.
They don't. They don't do their research. They just go, oh, that's the headline. Oh, that must be true.
But you can take somebody in with an hour-long podcast talking to somebody in depth about things and get much more from it. I think podcasting is just blowing up.
I agree with you, Mike, because then you hear somebody from start to finish. You don't hear a blip and edit here. Wait a second, you didn't even get the story right. And then right now we're just going live and we're talking, and you get to know us in a different way.
Right.
So I appreciate
just
that.
Having a conversation.
We need coffee next time.
Yes. Well, I don't drink coffee after noon, because then I don't sleep.
There you go.
That's my wife. She can drink a cup of coffee at 10 p.m. and go to sleep right after that.
That's how I
really envy that. Wow, yeah. That's good. So, anyway, you were saying what's going on in the commissioner's office.
So everybody knows that since January we got sworn in, and we've been hit with a number of different topics, and this is not abnormal. So I want to let people know that any new administration of any sorts coming in, picking up the pieces and carrying the torch moving forward, you're going to encounter some speed bumps, I call them. And when you figure out that, hey, I can get around that speed bump, then you approach things a little bit differently. It's called learning.
Experience.
Experience. It's called, you know what, I'll never do that again. And that's what we're learning, but we're molding. And right now we're going to just 4 months into this. And I feel like I've been there 3 years, really. I feel like, hey, I got to do this, got to do that. And you take the job and you're just rolling with it. And we're working a lot of hours. I mean, people don't understand. They're like, well, you're not in your office all the time. We're in there every day. And if we're not in there, I'm out in the field connecting with our departments that serve the people of Josephine County. And they want oversight and accountability. I said, what more do you want to add to my list? Because there's only so many hours in the day. But from the minute I wake up to the minute I go to bed, we're working. And if people saw my time clock sheet or whatever you want to, Chris is actually doing a whole heck of a lot. Texting, with today's technology, you can't get away from texting, phone calls, messenger, tweets, whatever it may be, email, and you are working all the time. And people say, hey, you don't have to physically be in an office anymore to say you're working. You're working out of your car, you're working wherever your laptop is. And you're connecting with people. And that's one thing I love about this job. It's kind of like police work, because I was a cop at one time and enjoy doing that thrill. It's called adrenaline rush. I mean, you're always got something new every single day, Mike. And with this job, I love it because there's something new every single day. It's not repetitive. It's not redundant. It's challenges.
So in the case where there are some people who say that they, can't contact you, I can't get a hold of you, there isn't really a line of people waiting to talk to you at your office when you're in there, is there?
Not at all.
Yeah.
And the people that have made appointments, that is just totally nonsense to be. We've said it at our board. And the people that want to meet, that we're so accessible. My phone's always with me. Mike, I'm very active on social media, very active in the community. So there's nobody that has said, that can really say that, no, Mr. Barnett has not gotten back to me, because I do. And if they say, well, I want to meet with you, I said, there's a procedure for that. We have a board secretary that books those in the office, because we're meeting with other constituents.
Sure. You can't just walk in and assume that there's time for you.
No, they think that it's just like a restaurant. You just come in and be served, and it's not like that in government.
But you're not running into that problem where people come in and want to talk to you right now.
For the most part, no. But the office is manned 8 to 5. So period. So longer, because we spend some long hours in there.
So bottom line, if people want to communicate with you, they can certainly. And email is always available to you as well if you want to do that. And I'm not trying to be promo for you guys, but I have never had an issue where I can't ask for an interview. And most of the time when I've done that, I've gotten the interview with only a minor exception to that. And that's because the person that I wanted to talk to is not really interested in talking to media, and doesn't differentiate me from media. And so that's how that goes. Not long ago, about a month at this point, we had the little speed bump there with Simon Hare.
It's been about a month now. Yeah.
And his resignation letter and the Michael Sellers salary controversy situation. What's the status of that?
Well, Michael is back being IT director in emergency management, and he was filling in an interim role, just trying to help with some of the reorg of the departments. It's worked. I mean, we gave a 90-day kind of timeline. We did it in 55 days. I'm very disappointed with Simon Hare's exit. I did not anticipate that. Nobody did. And I didn't know him that well because I didn't work with him that much. I was coming and going, and he had one job to do, and that was to deal with the budget. And he came with some great recommendations, being a past commissioner from like 10 years ago. Things have changed since 10 years. And I just was disappointed because I got to know him, and I really trusted that he was going to get this budget program online in a quick amount of time. And then he was with us maybe 6 weeks, I think it was. It wasn't very long at all, and we had a 5-month commitment. And I thought, well, you kind of left us out to dry like that, but we went into gear, and Ruth Nelson is now the director, and she's a finance officer, and she's doing a fantastic job. She really did all the finances anyway, so it made a perfect fit for Miss Nelson, Director Nelson now. She's awesome. And with Simon Hare leaving, it did put us in a what just happened. I went into gear right away when I heard that. I didn't even know about his resignation, Mike. Didn't even know about it until 6:30 in the morning. I get an email on my office email, and I see the Courier had emailed me. Hey, could you have any input on Simon Hare's resignation? I'm like, what are you talking about? That's what I did. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, oh, well, you sent us a letter, and I didn't even get that email. So I said, could you forward that to me? And they did, and I read it, and I'm like, this is all new to me. I go, more to come. This is all new to me. And then, of course, it was Simon Week, and he got to be air whatever he wanted, and it didn't make any sense. None of it made sense.
And some of that stuff that he mentioned, that pressured you and Ron to comment on things which you were not totally up to date on because you weren't involved in the budgeting process. There was some confusion about whether or not the commissioners had the right to see what was on the budget. And there was perhaps an assumption that the commissioners knew about this page that he put out there with the proposed salary and benefits for Michael Sellers.
Well, in my opinion, 100%, you don't take pictures of things and put it on the internet, for one. Okay, we work in a government organization, and me coming from my military background, there's OPSET, there's security issues, there's things in there you just don't put out there. That's a security risk. Now we're doing a security assessment because of Mr. Hare's exit and what he put out there. He shouldn't have done that.
It'd be almost impossible to stop a rogue employee from taking a picture of a document and putting it out there. I mean, there's no security apparatus that you could put in place. Now, there can be a threat of legal action or something like that, but you couldn't really stop somebody from doing that if that's what they were of a mind to do, unfortunately.
You're absolutely correct. Same in the military. I mean, you can have a top secret clearance and you put a document out there. They're like, well, it's been done. And so those violations are, Wally Hicks, our counsel, said those are class A and B misdemeanors at Mr. Hare by doing that event and putting that information out there. He said it at our public meeting at a legal counsel update, and then that's where the security audit came in, saying we need a security firm to test our vulnerabilities. And like you said, who's going to stop somebody from doing that, right? So I understand that piece of it too. Like I said, I liked Mr. Hare. I'm very disappointed with the way he attacked our competence. Like, we didn't know what we were doing, and that's 100% baloney. Okay, I don't know Mr. Hare, his work experience at all. 10 years ago was 10 years ago, and we hire him in because we think he had experience. He came recommended by a lot of people saying he had the stuff that it took, but I never saw that.
And from what took place, it isn't clear that he doesn't know. It's just that his actions in this particular case are.
It's quite. I just don't understand the motive behind it. And I have to say that I mean, when I heard that, there's some special job for Michael Sellers, and there's a line item, and I saw this line item, I'm like, that would never fly. I go, we have a budget meeting coming up, and we would see all these line items.
Right.
And then
the question was, for me, from the minute that I heard about that is, okay, how'd the numbers get there? You know,
that's the big mystery.
So, and apparently that's one of three people, Michael Sellers, Simon Hare himself, or Ruth.
Correct. There was only three. And remember, this is preliminary stuff. They're working on a project. We're working on projects. I mean, when I bring stuff up, they have no idea what I'm talking about because they're not in the know.
I agree that during the budgeting process, and people who don't know, the budget committee, it consists of the three commissioners and three appointed people who apply to be on the budget committee and then are chosen by the commissioners to be on the budget committee. And then, of course, then all these numbers would come out and people would look at that and go, oh, what the hell is that? Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah, and that line item, and there was, well, like Mr. Hare said, there was some contract. So here's the big issue at hand, and I was concerned more than anything. There's a contract and it's being hidden and it's going to get signed off by some third-party attorney and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Guess what I did when I found out about that? I did my own investigation. I went right to the legal and I said, Wally Hicks, do you know anything about this? I want to know right now because this is major. Nope. What are you talking about? I go, well, this is what everybody's saying. There's some secret contract out there. And I have not seen it.
They were suggesting outside counsel, which would put it outside of the circle of Wally Hicks. I understand that at some point, Wally would have to sign off on something like that. So it would never become a contract until Wally had seen it and approved of it.
And have to come before the board.
Right. But the suggestion was that it was being negotiated through an outside counsel. And to be honest, since this thing has broken, I haven't seen any corroboration of that circumstance.
None, me either. And that's why I'm like, show me the proof. Show me in anything that this existed and it has any ink on it from anybody. And I'll believe that, okay? And then I'll have to question other people. But just throwing it out there without the facts, not backing it up, I kind of felt like, well, what's in it for Mr. Hare? Because I didn't understand why he would go so far to do that and then put everybody down. And I'm like, well, what's in it for Mr. Hare? So that's the only question that came up for me, kind of going, I don't understand this.
Yeah, always have to examine motives.
Yeah. And like I said, I liked Mr. Hare as a person in the office that was doing he had his own office, by the way. And he'd come in and visit and just say, hey, I'm working on the budgets. And I would question, hey, when are we going to be up to speed on this? Because I'd like to see all this stuff.
And in the political realm, I mean, in an office circumstance, you might think one thing about something like this. In a political, now there are multiple layers of potential conflicts and motivations that one never knows about. So,
well, yeah, and the bottom line on this one, I was dumbfounded because A, there was no contract. Two, there wasn't some special position that I secretly was being discussed or announced. And I just found that kind of like, show me the proof. And Mike, that was a big thing. And I know that I'm very disappointed the way that went. We had to replace him right away. We did with Ruth Nelson, who's doing a fabulous job. I mean, she's a wealth of information. She had really actually been doing that job the whole time she's been working back there. She could have been a director long ago. I think Sandy Novak, when she vacated it, Ruth stepped up right away. So I knew the talent right away. I'm like, oh, that's the talent right there. And done a great job. We were trying to soften the load on Miss Nelson because she was doing the other stuff. And it was like, well, now we added some more onto you. And you know what? It's working flawlessly.
This is what happens in most jobs I've ever been in. If you show yourself to be valuable in any way, the more work is coming to you.
Oh, you know how to do that? Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, I was like, ugh.
So Simon called out a couple of things. One was you and Ron abdicating your authority to Andreas Bleck on and talk about that and what the scope of that was. Was that a limited thing? What did that cover?
Well, Simon should know this. I mean, he was a commissioner before. He had circumstances where he was probably excused or out of the office or whatever. We had an unforeseen circumstance, and that was recalled one of our commissioners. We had a commissioner recalled. You got two brand new people. The line of continuity got broken. You don't stick pilots in jets that just got out of flight school, okay? Or they're in their beginning stages. You take a veteran pilot that's already been in there to show you how to fly the plane in case things happen, right? You don't just trust the newbies. So we're new to the position. And we got thrown into not only, right away, we learned how to go through the process of hiring a new commissioner. We had to do that on week 2. Week 3.
Yeah, I remember watching the meeting.
We did, and we did a great job on our selection process with all the candidates, and we came down to the final 2.
But this situation with Andreas Bleck is that he had unilateral authority on certain issues. Mm-hmm. What were those? So
a public meeting, we said, hey, because we're going through a little bit of a reorganization process, and we had lost some directors.
So define reorganization. That's basically, for the lack of a better term, thinning the herd a little bit.
Correct. Efficiency. Budgets are going to be tight. I can't wait to see what we have anticipated on the budget, because everything out in the news world, if you will, funding's getting cut for certain programs. President Trump has been cutting things at the national level. Those will affect the states. The states will be saying we're not funding that at the city and county level. It's already happening, and everybody's a little scared because they want to make sure they have jobs. And right now, everything's fine. But we've budgeted for those items. But what comes next year is, we're not going to have those funds, so is your department going to shrink? And that's what we're all waiting for next. And some of this is going to happen. We just don't know how much.
So we're sort of up to date with what's going on in the county. Lately, there has been controversy because the Supreme Court, the Oregon Supreme Court, has upheld a judgment against you, saying that you are you're an elder abuser.
Oh boy, this is against a corporation. Let me mind you, this isn't against my wife or I. It's against a corporation, which is an LLC, and there's partners in it. So we talked last year a little bit about this.
Yeah, we did.
And the Court of Appeals ruled in our favor. Okay. They said this doesn't even pass a sniff test. This needs to go back to the circuit court. And they appealed it. So it went to the Supreme Court. So, and let me tell you, this is a shock when, and I have to say, judges, again, they hold the fate of anybody, and you don't have to be right anymore. It's what I'm very convinced of. The power of things are in some judges' hands, just like the other things that you've been hearing about. And you're like, how can that be? How can you be... How can you not convicted? There's no crime or nothing here. And the whole thing about elder abuse doesn't exist. And I'll tell you why. You got to be in charge of people's affairs. That didn't happen. Financially, didn't happen. You got to house those people. Never happened.
Yeah, you know what? My view on this is that they want something that taints you. And when you say elder abuse, it conjures the images of you beating your grandmother. And
it's horrible.
Yes.
And Mike, I'm a law enforcement guy, retired LEO. Carrie, I serve in the military. I go, do you think, for an instance, if I was convicted or accused of that type of violation, I wouldn't have the jobs that I have today? I couldn't do my job. I could not do my job. This is an LLC issue, and the only reason why this is scary, he did it on purpose, and I say he, the attorney for the plaintiffs. They hired a squirrely attorney, and I'll say it, because this guy at every motion has thrown poo at the wall, if you will, and see if it sticks. And he got a community that didn't know anything about these membership camping contracts. Either did we. And
let's
twisted that whole thing around.
Let's go into that a little bit because, I think people read headlines and they don't
Correct.
really understand what the basis of this is. As I recall, correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
You purchased a property. This is like back 2017.
Correct.
Okay, and it was what $1.5 million for this piece of property.
It was $2 million.
$2 million for this piece of property that had an existing resort on it.
Had a
Essentially,
pre-existing operation going on.
Okay.
And we came in, got our own loan. We didn't buy it cash or nothing like that. This was our retirement. My wife and I said, hey, let's do something that's fun. We can get the kids involved. We'll do this. And later on, when I want to scale back on my business, then I can, run that operation. So that was the whole goal. Never lived there, anything like that. And we bought this. We saw this online. It was for 1.995, $2 million, I'm going to call it. And we went out and looked at it, and we talked. And
where's this located?
Lakeside, Oregon.
Lakeside.
I didn't even know where the town was. I didn't even know it existed. Never been there.
Have never heard of it.
North of Coos Bay, south of Reedsport, on the Oregon coast.
Oh, okay.
And so my wife and I liked RVing. So we're like, hey, this would be kind of a nice investment to do down the road. If we'll create our own job, we'll work there. That's the whole intent. Well, it turned out that the previous owner had built it, had started it, had some health issues, and wanted to get out of it. He had other partners. His dad was a partner, his brother was a partner, and Mr. Smalley, Mike, was the one that lived on site. Nice guy. He told us everything there was about it that we thought. And we said, well, look, Mr. Smalley, we're going to do our own thing. We just want to buy your real estate and the property. We had a real estate agent representing us too, by the way. So we didn't represent ourselves. And we said, hey, we just want to do our own thing. We don't want to do whatever you did because we're going to buy it free and clear, new loan, everything, and a new LLC. So just because the name says Osprey Point RV Resort, it's not. It's Barnett Resorts LLC. That is the name of it. He ran his own corporation. So we didn't buy his business. There's a difference in corporations. You can buy a business, a pre-existing business, and do an LLC.
Right, but there would be a paper trail of you purchasing that business.
Absolutely.
Now, so
there's a monetary value to buying somebody's pre-existing business.
Of course. And then there would also be some closing documents that had to do with the existing contracts in place.
Bingo.
Okay, so and you're saying that you did or did not know about these before?
No, so when you buy something, a piece of real estate, and I've done real estate for 25 years. I've never had a situation come up. And so after the sale, somebody comes up and says, hey, we get to camp here for free. And I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, well, I have this contract with the previous owner. And I go, well, sorry, we're new owners. It'd be like, we don't serve the same food. We don't do the same program. This place could be a golf course. It's not what it was before. Now, if we bought his business and we did a monetary, I want to buy your business and I'll pay you back for it. That's going to charge you a certain amount. That would be recorded. And I'm buying exact your operation. That never happened. So, so we started brand new and they gave us this piece of paper with a bunch of chicken scratch on it and stuff. And I said, well, what is this? Well, we had a deal with the previous owner. I'm like, well, the analogy I like to use, and I think I used this last time, McDonald's bought Burger King. They both sell hamburgers and look like they're the same, but they're totally different entities. Burger King doesn't sell Big Macs, and McDonald's doesn't sell Whoppers. So I'm like, what do you have? A coupon? Okay, let me see that. I'm like, ma'am, this doesn't say our name on it. Doesn't say anybody's name but Mr. Smalley, you, okay? So I go, you need to go back to him. That corporation's gone. That business is gone.
So were these sold to or offered or what? However they did this before with the previous people, as lifetime, and so they paid a certain amount to be there. Kind
of like a timeshare thing,
right?
A program, and we canceled everything. We started fresh. It's in our bill of sale. I posted that. It's in our title report. Title company won't defend us because they said there's nothing to defend, Chris. They said there is nothing of these contracts. There is nothing. The title company will not defend us because there's nothing.
I find that a little bit bothersome. You know,
It is very bothersome.
It's funny how title insurance,
Correct.
it has a name that suggests that they're insuring your title.
Bingo.
But from what I understand, they're insuring the title at the very second that you're signing the paper, not before, not after.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we're not. This isn't our first rodeo, Mike.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, we do all our P's and Q's. My wife is excellent. I'm excellent. And we're looking through everything. And I'm like, okay, fresh. And we got an itemized list of the bill of sale. Not one thing says membership camping contracts. We didn't receive any money for transfer of contracts. Nothing. So when this so-called,
Listen, they are suggesting that you are personally guilty of doing something bad, like in stealing the value of these contracts or something. This is what they're suggesting.
it is the most ridiculous thing I've ever had to go through in my life, and it's not done yet. It's still at the Supreme Court. There's still a little whammy that the attorney's working on, so I can't disclose what's going on with that because this is bad law, bad case law if it goes through. Okay, it's not done yet. But when these contracts came to forth, these coupons, if you will, nothing said in my contract or in my deed or the title report that you had a lifetime membership on the property. It's called a life estate. I know what those are. Easement or riparian rights.
I own commercial property, and I inherited with that purchase the leases, but that was all
correct
up front. I knew exactly what I was buying when I bought it, and so that's
these people never lived there, Mike. So this isn't an RV park. Right. People confuse this, and I think the jury confused this with the interpretation of what they thought. Trust me, they went squirrely on a whole many different things. You'd be like, I can't even make sense of this. Show me some proof. And I say to everybody to this day, if you can show me one piece of paper that has my name on it, that I took money from these people and my wife or a corporation, then I'm guilty.
Yeah, and, but I think what is being inferred about you is that you knew going forward into this thing that there were these contracts and that you are somehow consciously, robbing these people of these contracts. And, I would have thought if you have a jury or something that you present that evidence to them and I mean, it seems like a no-brainer to me.
So what you do when you buy real estate, and you know this, you do your due diligence period. You look at everything and say, hey, we went to our broker and said, hey, what else is there to need to know? And he goes, well, you got this, you got easements, you got utilities and stuff like that.
I've been bitten.
This broker didn't even know about these contracts. Doesn't even know about them. And I'm like, well, show us that we need to do whatever program that a previous owner has to do. So when I buy your house, Mike, I can't paint this wall because you said I can't paint it? Where does it say that? Because when we bought this, I looked through everything and I'm like, honey, do you know anything about this? He did programs like Coke vendors, Pepsi vendors. He had contracts with different entities. I call them vendors. He did these camping programs.
None of which you're entitled to by purchasing the place, right?
But this is where they're thinking. And American Outdoor Resorts, called AOR, he did these Passport America things, which are camping membership programs for a discount. Good Sam. We're a member of Good Sam. We have to buy into Good Sam in order to give our customers a 10% or more discount. Yeah. He mentioned those programs. And I said, well, we're not going to do any of those programs. You do some of those? He goes, yeah. He goes, I like doing those, but you don't have to. He told me that. We have it written that we don't have to do anything. So when you're buying something going, hey, well, we're going to do our own thing. So we're not doing whatever. These things were what I found out after the fact with this contract. My attorney at the time, I gave it to her. I go, what is this? And she goes, well, you bought the property free and clear, no encumbrances, and your bona fide purchases of real estate. And I said, well, thank you, because if there's something in here that we have to do and we overlooked it, we'd be more than happy to honor whatever we need to do. There is nothing. She goes, you cannot do anything. She goes, these are what they call an Oregon statute membership camping contract. Me as a realtor didn't even know what that was. It's administered by the Oregon Real Estate Agency. So me being a principal broker and being in for 25 years, probably 18 at the time, I was like, well, what are these? She goes, well, I found out that these are a state statute contract, which means if you buy these so-called contracts, the purchaser and the operator at the time are supposed to record them against the property. Right. Therefore, a purchaser would know that these exist and run with the land.
Right.
Period. Never happened. Out of 71 of these so-called plaintiffs that I've never met, never knew, never engaged with monetary value or nothing.
I am not unsympathetic to Uncle Joe, who bought himself a lifetime contract to camp at this particular place and now finds himself unable to do so. But then you have to sift through the details and find out what's going on here. I mean, it sounds to me like these people have a beef with the guy who offered and took the money from these people for this contract and are not able to deliver or didn't accommodate delivery going forward.
So what I found out after the fact, that he sold these contracts, you have to be registered as a campground operator with the Oregon State Real Estate Agency. They didn't administer their program. They're going to be at fault next, okay? They didn't administer their program and hold the operator, like I'm a real estate agent. If I do something wrong, I'll be held accountable. Well, this operator was doing his own thing. And I'm not literally, some of these contracts look like chicken scratch. Free this, free that, stuff that we didn't even do, free fishing lessons. Hey, free hot dogs on Saturday. I'm not kidding. Had all this stuff. And I go, well, that's your model, Mike. If you want to do that for your customers, you're more than welcome to do whatever you want on your property. But when we have a new corporation, a new business, we don't do hot dogs. We don't do fishing lessons. And we don't do any camping style that you do.
Right. And listen, a lot of this you'll find the people who are making noise about this stuff, the divide goes down political lines. In many cases, I watch enough of social media around here to see that. And that's an unfortunate thing. Do you think that the Supreme Court in Oregon, we're talking about Oregon Supreme Court, not the United States Supreme Court, has those kind of motivations, that kind of influence? I mean,
they control what they want to control. And I was warned by my own attorneys and other people that you don't know what you're going to get. It's a gamble. You can be the most innocent person in the world. It's like being convicted of a crime you never did, Mike. I wasn't there. I never was seen. Show me the proof. I don't have any proof. No, Mike, we heard and we think you knew you took something in that house. Me being in law enforcement, I have to convict you on proof. Show me the proof. And these judges and these attorneys, there are some very good attorneys out there, trust me, and we've got a hard one working on our case right now. But I'm saying this attorney was all about money. He threw in the elder abuse at the last minute for drama and effect to sway a jury. 150%. Mike, he did it.
Well,
we're watching this
worked.
Thing going, it worked, but this is how you can be convicted of something and fool a jury and be convicted of a crime you never did. We didn't do a crime, by the way, but I mean of something that you never did, and you're sitting there going, did I miss something, Mike? Because from what I understand, in order to get in trouble, you have to do something wrong. So you're saying good is bad and bad is good now, because that's what it feels like. Okay. And we proved it time after time, and it's like nobody listens. It's like, and we had to go through this for 7 years. Okay, we're
Wow.
7 years.
This has been going on that long?
Yes, people don't understand. This was 8 years we've owned the resort. This has been going on for almost 8 years. Because right away after I took over the resort, our business model that we did, Barnett Resorts, we had an attorney to look at this piece of paper that somebody had. This is how it started, like 3 weeks after we bought the place. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry, ma'am. We'll let you finish up your camping trip because we want to earn your business. But we don't do what this gentleman did. Well, I have a piece of paper. And I go, well, I don't care if you have a handshake agreement, a piece of paper. We don't do that same stuff. And so they're forcing us to do a program or something that we weren't legally bound to do, because a real estate agency.
Yeah, and then once you start doing it, you may be obligated.
Then you're obligated. So they're trying to obligate me on something I never obligated with. And we found out through our attorney that this was a state or Oregon statute camping contract. And I go, what are these? And I have all the emails to the real estate agency, and I have the proof. And I said, show me where it says I have to do this program. And they go, well, you can't, Mr. Barnett, because you're not a campground operator. You need to file this piece of paper here and submit it to the state, and then we'll review, and then you got to do this, and you got to do that. I'm like, was this campground registered as a campground in Coos County, Oregon, where I would know as a purchaser of said real estate? They go, well, the campground operator was responsible for doing that. And I go, did you check his files? Did you ever make a site visit? Did you ever do anything? They didn't do anything. They're at fault, big time. Okay. And so you're supposed to record these in the records? Yes, Mr. Barnett. And I go, well, I got a title here that's free and clear. And they said I have to do these. Well, Mr. Barnett, you cannot do this program because you haven't applied. If you do this program, you're doing something illegal. So I got scared off of that. I go, I can't administer this program. So I went back to that person that had this contract. I go, ma'am, I can't even do this program. If I do this, it's illegal. I can't take your money. I'm not going to take your money. And ma'am, after your stay, I'm not going to charge you for anything right now. I said, but if you come back in the future, the company will have to charge you to stay because we don't do these programs.
So what happens at the end of this thing if they decide against you?
If they do, then we have a plan B. And I can't go into those details yet. But there's a whammy of a plan B, and there's a whammy of a plan C. So I'm fighting. And I'm going to fight because this affects property right owners in the state of Oregon. People are like, why are you fighting this so hard? I go, why? Because every single piece of real estate that I sell or purchase in Oregon can be subject to this elder abuse thing. So any person that you do business with in the state of Oregon, if this becomes precedent, and we're going to fight it, but if it does, that means business owners have got to be careful. Property owners have got to be careful if you rent to people that are 65 and older, because if they want to use the elder abuse, they can do it without any proof. This is why if you read the narrative of some of the judges, they said this is bad all the way around, and this is going to affect Oregonians and their businesses.
Yeah, you know what? I don't think that we should be creating more impediments to housing. I see people citing the fact that we need more low-income housing, but if you're going to do that, you have to stop doing things that deter it, and you also have to, as government, you have to get out of the way as much as it is possible for you to do that to allow people to build. We had a city councilor here in the last batch of city councilors that suggested that we didn't have enough low-income housing here because of market failure, which is sort of a socialist term. And it means that the market failed and that now government has to get involved and do it. And I thought, when government gets involved and tries to solve these problems, they never can do it right or as efficiently as the private sector can. And so it just... We do need more low-income housing. There isn't any question about it, but government is not going to bring that to you.
No.
What you need is government to get out of the way of logging so that we can have cheap 2x4s. We need government to get out of the way of permitting so people can actually afford to buy a permit. And, monetary policy has to be where it's cheap enough to where somebody can get a loan at a decent interest rate.
Correct.
That's
more affordable housing.
Yes.
The thing is about housing in general, I'm all for affordable homes. The thing is, in our inventory, being a realtor, what is your interpretation of affordable versus somebody else's interpretation of affordable? Because the loan program is, you got to go through that process to begin with, and nobody's just going to give you X amount of dollars without you qualifying for it.
Well, we're talking about the low end. We're talking about newcomers into the housing market, and I really feel for these people now because the prices are up so high that I had my first mortgage, like an idiot. I got an adjustable rate mortgage back in the early 90s, and it started out really super cheap.
Yeah.
But at one point, it was 11.5%.
It creeped up.
Yeah, it creeped up. And I could afford it. It wasn't that big of a deal because I was only financing $110,000 at the time.
Yep.
Well, if you're talking about the lowest end home in Josephine County is probably, in the 250 range,
350 now.
350.
So it's an average median price. Is
and you throw higher interest rates on top of that. And how are people going to qualify to do that if they're on the low income or if they're on a fixed income in their later years?
So the best solution, since we're switching to real estate, is honestly, we need more rentals. And what I mean by that, apartment complexes. Look around town. How many complexes do you see that are apartment based? You don't see them. There's
a new one. It's a low income complex. I'm not exactly super happy about it, by the way, but it's right next to my building on Nebraska and Ramsey.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And they're building the multifamily. Not multifamily, but
it's a big unit.
It's a big unit. But we don't have enough. When they say low income, it's like, well, what do you qualify for? You're talking $1,000 a month, $1,500 a month, under $2,000. I mean, everybody has their interpretation of what a low income price should be.
When I first got here, about 20 years ago, a little more than 20 years ago, you could rent a 2-bedroom house for $400 a month.
Yes, you could.
And now, I mean, it's if you got a studio for $850, you're getting a smoking deal.
Yeah, people are like, you're charging them way too less. And I have rentals too, and I charge appropriately. And what I do is, and just like you and anybody else, if you have good tenants in there, you tend to treat them really good and
absolutely.
You pay on time. I don't care about the extra $100 a month. I don't care. You are good. You take care of the property. You can stay there.
Hey, long-term tenants are it for me.
They are.
I've been in the rental business all of my life. Pretty much. We started out with residential stuff, but now I own commercial, which is a lot less of a headache, but it doesn't pay as well.
Correct.
But good tenants are hard to find, and when you find them, you keep them.
You keep them, because if you price things too high, you're going to have a lot of turnover. They're going to find something else somewhere else and go, oh, you know what, this is too much. And then you have constant turnover. But if you keep the rents a little bit lower and they're long term, you'll make up for it in less headache.
Especially the people that take care of the place.
Oh, they treat it like it's their own. Like I have. I was a renter for 10 years of my life, straight out of high school. I rented, and let me tell you, nobody told me to buy a house. They just said rent. So I rented, and you know what? I always ask my landlord, I go, hey, can I do this improvement? Can I do that? Never asked them to do it for me. I said, hey, and you can keep it. I'll paint. I'll do all this. As long as I got permission. They said, Chris, you do it. You're improving our property. Thank you. And I thought about that, and I go, well, I'm treating it like my own house. And they're like, treat it like your own house. And I always did that. And when people came over, I treated it like it was my house. And they didn't know if I was renting it or I bought it. And I go, that's just being a good steward of rentalship.
Yep.
And today, not for everybody, but I see some people, a light bulb goes out and then you need to replace the light bulb. I'm like, well, that's
been there.
You've
been a
there.
landlord.
I think everybody has, and you want to accommodate, but you're also saying, well, those are things that are going to go out. You're going to have to replace it.
I usually tell, I'll say, listen, I'm going to come right down there and take care of that for you.
Yeah.
But I want you to understand that this falls under a tenant responsibility. I'm just going to tell you that now for future reference, and I'll show you how to replace the fluorescent tube or whatever it is.
Sure.
But I'm going to take care of you right now, and that usually is a good way to do it.
Then they remember next time, like, oh, Mike did tell me this, and
I had a guy didn't even know that it was his responsibility to change the furnace filters. Yeah,
oh, wow.
And I came there and the thing was just totally clogged up. I go,
clogged up,
what's going on?
Yeah.
He go, well, haven't you been changing the filters? I go, that's not my responsibility. But after a while, I decided I better check on to see if these people are doing that.
It could cause more damage.
Yeah, which is on me. So
back to whatever we were all talking about, everything, all the events that happened. The big thing, Mike, that I reached out to you was getting this Osprey Point RV resort straight to the public, saying, hey, look, I'm not the big bad wolf. I never was. I'm not. Okay. I wouldn't be in the positions I'm in, and my wife, if we were so-called elder abusers, or however they want to twist it. It's financial elder abuse, all this stuff. But the word elder abuse was just used for drama in a courtroom to try to get money. You got to understand that. This attorney wanted money. And if you really look at the end of the day, this isn't about those people. He's extorting money from them.
Is it a class action?
Yes, they got more people to do a class action, so it'd be cheaction on them. And then they don't even know what's going on. And here's a mystery thing of it.
This is Law 101. Class action lawsuits are for attorneys. They're not for plaintiffs.
They make the money.
Yes.
Not the plaintiffs, not the victims.
That's absolutely
so you're absolutely right. So he keeps going for more and more, because if we stop him, he doesn't get paid. So that's why we're trying to stop him, because then he won't get paid. But we are, and there's another recourse.
There are going to be people who want to believe this about you, and they're not going to unbelieve it by watching this.
They will twist it. People have done that on social media. Anybody that truly knows me has my back 150 million % saying, this isn't Chris and Stephanie. This isn't them.
Trying to do the math. 150 million %.
We didn't take their money. We didn't do anything. And we don't even live there. So there's another caveat to it. We don't even live on the premises. So we live here, and we have an entity that's managed over there. And the corporation did everything it could by the book with legal advice per instructions, because I'm that type of guy. If you tell me the rules, I will abide by them. And my wife is the same way. People know my wife. She's a legal beagle. And we're being accused of something that we didn't do. And I go, now I know what it's like for people that have fought the system so hard that says they did something and they got, convicted, persecuted, whatever you want to call it, for something they never did. I never thought I would be a victim of that. Never, Mike. And I have to tell everybody out there, if you want the truth, I've got it. I show people when they meet with me, I said, you tell me how I'm supposed to do these programs or do this and that. Please show me one thing and I will own it. But I can't own something I did not do, and I can't own something that I never did. Therefore, the beef, like you said, was with the previous owner who went bankrupt. So what he did was, these people went after him, Elkside Development LLC, and they closed their LLC down. They had zero in their bank account. So the scapegoat is just go after the next best thing, and we'll just go after that property owner. He must have knew something. He must have did something. I go, look, I could change this into a graveyard.
I would think that there would have to be a document trail there in order to to find somebody culpable in a circumstance like that, there would have to be some sort of paper trail that proved that you knew and then you shafted these people.
And that can't be found. And that's the thing. These contracts that this other attorney has, I've requested them, and I have the emails to my attorney. I've requested them like 5-6 times. I go, these contracts that this Mr. Attorney's talking about, can you please have them delivered? Because he apparently has them. He has not provided one. Only in a courtroom to show 1 or 2 contracts. That was it. You can go back and watch the play-by-play. I'm like, wow, really? Where does this say Mr. Barnett or Barnett Resorts is responsible?
So for all you investigative reporters out there, that's the smoking gun that you're looking for.
Yes.
Okay.
Find that smoking gun and show me where myself, our corporation, my wife, anybody did any of the accused that you're talking about. Anything. And we were talking to substantial proof.
You would think that if the Supreme Court is saying this, you would think that they would have to state, and here is the basis by which we believe that.
They won't relive what we know, what we've been trying to tell them. They won't relive that. They go back to the original court that did this and look at those facts and go, oh, okay, well, the jury said they didn't even understand what real estate was. I asked the jury, I go, have you guys ever bought in real estate in your life? And I had maybe 4 hands raise their hands. The rest of the jury had not. And I go, you know what a preliminary title report is? Tells you what goes against. The people that bought real estate knew it. The rest of the people did not even know it. So they didn't own homes to even understand it. And the funny thing about this judge in Coos County, he did not even understand what was going on. And I have to tell you, look, I want to hold judges to a higher level. I always thought that in my legal and my law enforcement career, always hold judges to a better standard, right? And I have to say, this judge did not understand what A and B was. And he let everybody else steer the narrative. This attorney, who is slick, started throwing smoke and mirrors. My attorney's going, oh no, this won't go. This doesn't even make sense. Well, it made sense at the end because look what happened. And so that's what we're fighting on, the principle of right. And if we can, trust me, this is not far over at all. We're not going down without a fight. And what I mean by that, it's going to affect Oregonians if we don't fight it. And I think people will thank us later that I'm so glad you fought that.
So anything else I'm
loving the job. Just want to tell you that, Mike, with all the politics that goes on. Look, I was already the recall thing. People say, we recalled Mr. West and we can recall you as a scare tactic. And let me tell you what, that has been flaunted on our face by the hardcore few that I know, and I can name them out right now. Not going to do that. The thing is, they know who they are, and they think that they can just control whatever we do. And I'm like, how does the Board of County Commissioners control your life? How does what happens at the city council and them control your life?
You'd be surprised how little control the commissioners actually have.
We don't have that control. We have a check and balance system, and it's for oversight for these departments to work for you, the residents of Josephine County. If Public Works wasn't fixing your roads, we'd hear about it. We'd get on the Public Works person and say, hey, you need to fix Sammy's road over there. And if we don't have that checks and balances, your road would never get fixed. That's what we really do. But I have to tell you, those same people that are threatening recalling us, when we haven't even gotten to our 4th month yet, okay?
They were threatening a recall as soon as
we were elected.
As soon as they had a successful recall on John West, they were, aiming the recall guns everywhere.
They were, and it's very unfortunate because the citizens of Josephine County unanimously voted Commissioner Smith in and myself in.
Yeah.
Record.
It wasn't close.
It wasn't. It was like we got voted in, and by the majority of the voters, if you look at the commissioner voter turnout and stuff, it was a record year. There are some people that hate us no matter what we do because we're not what they think they wanted in there. And I hate to say politics, but I'm for everybody, Mike, and you know me. I can go and talk to anybody and try to listen to them and fix their problem. But you can't just target us and say we're this and that because we like such and such, and we were hanging out with such and such. You know,
there are a lot of people on social media that say a lot of things like these guys are doing such and such when it isn't true. And I'm not speaking about your thing specifically. I'm talking about, I remember 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when I didn't know anything about what was going on in county government, I had some of these little conspiracy theories in my mind too, because I didn't know what they could do and what they can't do. And until you invest the time to learn what they can and can't do, you really don't know. And so it would behoove you to do a little homework before you start throwing rocks. That's all I'm saying. And this is why when I approach stories like this, you go to the horse's mouth. You can't get better information than that. You know, talking about the homeless issue, you have to talk to people that are one-on-one in that circumstance. If there's some controversy going on, go to the people who are involved in it. You'll get the best account of what's going on from that. And you can get both sides, and then you can figure out what's going on. You don't have to like everybody I like, but, do your own thinking.
And that's why I appreciate you having me on your show, Mike, because people are just seeing headlines in magazines and social media. And I want to speak out on it, but you guys got to understand that I'm limited on what I can say on the whole thing, okay? Because it's not a done deal yet. I probably said more than I should have today, but because we're broadcasters, right? Yeah. So anyway, I'm just saying that go to the source, come to me. Come to anything that you want to know. We're transparent, and we'll tell you. Just like Mike said, if you really want to know what's going on, that's the best way to do it, and that's the old-fashioned way to do it.
And it isn't that hard to do. And listen, people will normally accommodate you. If you don't know anything and maybe you're embarrassed about you don't know what questions to ask, you can just come and say, hey, there's some particular topic I don't know something about. Almost anybody will help you with that. Even people on the street will be very helpful, and you can get all the best information. Just talk to the horse's mouth.
You can reach me directly, like you said, Mike. Go meet with me, go talk. But please, for all the good stuff that my wife and I have done in this community, we're hard to come by, because I have to tell you, our heart's in the right place with this community. Our heart's in the right place with our families. We contribute to our area we live. And to just put us down with not getting the whole story, it's very hurtful. And not only that, it really hurts good people from being here, and doing the jobs that they want to do. Yeah.
Well, there you have it. Thank you, Chris Barnett. Again, please like and subscribe on YouTube. Like and follow the page on Facebook. This all helps a great deal, and you will be notified right away when something new comes out. Appreciate you watching, and catch you on the next one.